I can see broadcast if there are any incidents or outages that have been sent out by IT. I can see that. I can come in and do location-based information if I need to. So perhaps I'm going to be traveling to one of the other offices here next week for a meeting. I want to see what the layout is of the floor that I'm going to be at. Or, I've got a problem with somebody tells me there's a spare printer somewhere, and it could direct me right to that geolocation. So the nice thing about an iPhone or about an iPad is we can take advantage of their location-based services. We know where you are at the moment, or we can also have loaded up the maps of everything as far as where you may be. So really a nice new platform to be able to do that. The other thing, though, that BMC has done is they realize that not every company is going to be able to give everybody an iPhone or an iPad. So that same app, if you would, is available as a desktop app that you can download. So here I'm looking at my IT, and even though the layout's a little different because it's not an iPad, I've got all the same type of information. So here's that upcoming appointment. Here were a couple of services that I'm tracking the health of to see whether they were up or down. Here's where I'm currently located. If I wanted to ask for assistance, again, through my desktop, again, I could just come in. I need something fixed. I need something else. You'll notice that it's basically mimicking exactly what I had shown you earlier when I was doing it on my iPad. Here's where I can come in, set up that appointment that we talked about. Here were the applications specific that I wanted to monitor. You pick which ones that are out there, and these are obviously services that are defined in your CMDB, which is what we're leveraging to be able to go in and do that. Again, here was your location tab that we talked about. Here's the Executive Briefing Center in Houston is just one thing that I brought up. There are many of them out there, again, depending on what you had loaded. If I were a manager and an approval had been sent to me, approvals go to people other than IT staff, I could actually manage my approvals right from within my IT, either on the iPad, iPhone, or coming in here. I don't currently have any approvals to do. And this is where you could also advertise what applications that you wanted to be made available for download if you wanted to do that. And these are, not things necessarily always at the App Store, but if you've set up your own repository of, hey, here are the things we want to allow any of their users to download, again, either to the desktop or to the smart device there, here's where it kind of comes in for free to be able to do that. So I think it makes sense for BMC to move in that direction, again, leveraging the smartphones and smart tablets and all that everybody has, but yet making that same information available through the desktop if that's what is applicable in your particular organization. So we're pretty excited about that. This was just announced in the past few days, so I'm sure your BMC rep or your RightStar rep will be in conversations with you about that and what the procedures are going forward to kind of be able to come in and do that. The other thing that we talked about was, of course, that was back to there. The other thing that you may be interested in is, well, when you're coming in and in SRM, when you create those service requests, kind of how is that done? And there are a number of ways, but here I'm logged into Remedy as a Remedy IT person, and here I'm looking at some of the existing service request definitions. And remember, this is where we said we're going to report an issue with a particular printer that we had out there. So if you kind of want to see, again, not trying to do a total education here, but you kind of wanted to see kind of how would you actually go in and do that. First thing you'd have to do is take it offline, obviously, if you're going to be making modifications to it. Once you had that offline, again, your people who do this type of thing would be able to go in and see, what kind of icons did we show to the end user, what kind of questions did we ask. In this particular one, we had automatically set the category. There was the title of that particular request that we had out there. This is where, I put in any kind of icons, as I mentioned. This is where we engaged with that service request. As far as what we're going to do, we said, please fill out the information. In this case, we didn't advertise any costs, but if I had picked a service catalog entry, for example, where I was requesting an iPhone, we may have wanted to show a cost figure there. You typically do want to show what the expected turnaround would be of anything that someone requests, because that's a great way to keep them from picking up the phone 30 minutes after they put something in that we've clearly articulated is a two-day turnaround there. And then, of course, the person who designs these goes out and basically, talks about, what's the back-end process going to be. Is it going to be a work order? Is it going to be an incident form that you're going to have out there? And then ultimately you went in and you actually put in the questions. If you'll remember, it asked me, is this with a network printer or a locally attached printer? Then I had a box for saying, okay, give me some more details, sign the impact, sign the urgency. You can see here that it was just a checkbox to select whether it was network or application. So, that's part of the design process that you have there. And then you get into configuring, okay, who should see this particular one, and that's over here under entitlements. Is this for everybody? Is it only for this particular groups or region? And that's how you kind of do that as you go through there. So just to recap, kind of what we had talked about, we talked about being able to start off with just a service page here. So if I pop back out of this one and log in as Joe again, just to kind of recap what our pages were there. Today, if you are a user, this again would be your self-service landing page where you would see the things that are being advertised. Here's where you see the ability to do knowledge searches, be able to go there. Into the future, of course, is where if you are going to be a new SRM user, the interface would probably be coming in through the iPad app here that you see. And again, I had just signed into my IT, and if I go to my home page here, you can't click on the emulator, Roger. Click on my home page here. There are the things that I am trying to monitor on here. And then likewise, if you are not an iPad person that you've got there, this is where I could come in and just bring it right up on my desktop. You can go back to that home page there, and you see what I've got. And then, of course, we did mention the ability to do the virtual agent knowledge of information. We also talked about you could do it with the chat.